Hey folks, welcome to Guitar Daily. It's Nick Granville coming to you from Wellington, New Zealand. So today I thought I'd talk about funky blues. This is something I do quite a bit of in terms of blues. And to me there's kind of two main categories. I'll discuss those. I'll discuss kind of how I approach the groove in them, because this is probably a little different than maybe how some people kind of look at it, and choices and things like that. So let's start with the groove, because a funky blues is all about the groove, right? So unlike a lot of people, the way I see it is that I'm often not thinking necessarily about the pulse when it comes to this sort of groove. I'm not thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I do think that sometimes, but more often what I'm thinking is like, what is the groove? So if, say, it was a New Orleans thing and it was like something like that, right? Right? There's your groove. So that's actually what I'm thinking in my head, is that groove. That's what's going on in here, not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's what I find the benefit of doing that is that if I'm thinking about the groove more than actually the pulse, is that my ideas tend to relate to the groove a little better. So something like right? So by doing that, I'm kind of, my ideas are relating to the groove. Generally, I'm more in the pocket with it. Don't get me wrong, I do think 1, 2, 3, 4 sometimes too. Like, it's a combination of the things, right? But by thinking about that groove, that's kind of a big part of kind of what's going on. The second thing, I kind of look at, there's two categories of funky blues, right? There's either your kind of more traditional type styles or your more jazz fusion related styles. So it's one of those two categories, right? By traditional, I might mean something like, something kind of, some Muddy Waters tunes can be funky, right? Or Albert King tunes can be funky, these sort of things, right? Freddie King can definitely get funky, right? Especially that 70s stuff he did. So that I'd put into the category of kind of the old school funk, right? If I'm playing that way, I don't tend to play a lot of chord changes. I tend to play more like pentatonic, and that's totally cool. People have this idea that if you play pentatonic, you have to like, it's like a bad thing or a cop-out or something. I don't look at it that way at all. I look at it like, if you can make good music with pentatonic, you make good music. To me, an idea like this is just as effective as a kind of 2/5 lick like that, the 2/5/1 lick might be in the wrong place, so therefore it's like the pentatonic thing might be just the more perfect thing to play. So I kind of look at it that, right? Stylistically, it's probably requiring me to stay a little more inside, a little more blues vocabulary, that kind of stuff. So it'll be this sort of phrasing and vocabulary, right? But if it's in the other category, which is like the jazz fusion-y funk type thing, then in that case, I'll kind of get into playing more lines and playing more eighth note driven phrases. So like that lick I played earlier, or something like that. Sort of look at those sort of ideas more akin to someone like John Scofield or Mike Stern, or even Bill Frisell, or lots of different ways to approach that. But that's that other kind of category of the funky blues, at least the way I see it and the way I do it. So many ways to do this, of course. The other thing I think about too a lot is like not necessarily having to play solos that much. Like a solo could be a rhythm solo. So something like, I could have a tone like this and do, licks and whatever. But then if I turn down, kind of cleans up. I've got a treble bleed on this guitar now, which is working really nicely. But a solo in a funk kind of fusion-y context could be something like... You know what I mean? I kind of could get into something like that where it's a little more of a rhythm-based solo, which I probably wouldn't do on a more traditional old-school style blues, funky blues. There's lots of different ways to do this, but I'm identifying where the groove is and then keeping that in the forefront of my mind. I'm looking at it stylistically, old school, more fusion-y type thing, and then I'm kind of looking at kind of what am I going to say? Now, sometimes I think there's this idea that you have to have a nice big long guitar solo all the time. It's actually not the way it is. It's interesting doing these stuff on my YouTube channel, because I play way more solos in this than I ever do on the gigs that I do. And you know, a lot of my gigs I'm a soloist, but especially like if I do the orchestra things or backing session stuff, things like that. You know, maybe I'll just take a chorus or two on a blues, and that's enough, and then I'm out of there, because that's all the song needs, and then I kind of throw it back to wherever it needs to go. Sometimes I stretch out. I like to stretch out, you know, if that's kind of the done thing. But most of the time, it's like you just play what's needed for the song, and that's kind of where I'm coming at from it. But with this YouTube thing, I play way more solos. Like every video is at least a minute and a half of solos, and that's mostly because some people have told me they only watch for that part. They don't watch the guitar educational part of it, and other people only watch the educational part of it. So it's all good. I quite like that format. It gives me an excuse to play some solos at the beginning of things, but it's way more than I usually would, right? Like some choruses, like if I'm playing some tunes, if I'm playing like a funky blues, it might make more sense to just kind of groove for a little bit. So maybe it comes to my solo and someone's just played and I might go... You know, something like that to kind of kick it off. That's just kind of a little different, right? And I think that's the thing. When it's a more fusion-y type thing, it's more open. Anything goes. At least that's the way I kind of view it. Hope this has been useful. If it has, please subscribe. I post every day here on YouTube. So this week is the focus of the blues, this deep dive into the blues stuff. If there's anything I've kind of discussed that you're not totally sure on, join me on Sunday for the live stream, and come with questions, because Sunday I'm going to wrap up all this whole week, and we'll discuss things further, because there's some stuff I've just kind of gone over quickly because we don't have time in this, right? But on Sunday we will. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers.